So the game that inspired me to make this video today is Shadow of the Colossus. This is by no means a new game, and this is by no means a newly remastered game. I believe this came out 5 years ago, and the original came out, I believe, in 2005. So, I played Last Guardian, which I believe is made by roughly the same team or developers-ish. I know that Team Eco worked on the games. They have been dissolved. So, I played Last Guardian. I loved that game. And I've been meaning to play the games that came before that ever since, and I finally sat down last week and I've been playing Shadow of the Colossus ever since. This game is fantastic. This game is an absolute joy to play. It has several elements that are similar to Last Guardian. It's a basically silent game, and it's very puzzle and strategy heavy. So I'll read you what it says on the back. Experience the acclaimed and beloved Shadow of the Colossus. Explore forbidden lands on a quest to bring your love back to life. Conquer towering creatures, each presenting a unique challenge to overcome. Rebuilt from the ground up for the PlayStation 4 system. So this was worked on by Blue Point Games, I think. And this game was a joy to play, and I'm going to talk about it fairly in depth for a little bit. I knew nothing about this game before I jumped into it. Literally nothing. I've seen one picture of a very small character and a very, very big giant. I knew nothing past that. appreciate the fact that the game greatly rewards you for practicing and perfecting climbing and balancing your stamina and killing them and getting the right angles. So I'm glad that it rewards you for that. So I found really number 2 to be really hard. Number 3, Gaius. It's one of the few that I actually remember the name of because it's so difficult. So, the first time I played the game, I actually didn't really understand what to do because I didn't want to watch a guide on this one. I wanted to figure out what to do myself. So I actually got the trophy for getting over its bracelet in my first playthrough, rather than making it keep its bracelet. There's like some, I guess, tactical spoilers, but I won't spoil the story of how it ends or anything like that. So I was able to get over its bracelet initially. I don't really know how I did. I think I jumped on its leg and then over its wrist. I didn't know that it could do the thing that it does to remove its bracelet until I was intensely looking up guides on Hard Time Attack. I did struggle on the initial playthrough, and I struggled immensely on Hard Time Attack. But eventually, after practicing and practicing and practicing, I got it down. It took me 3 or 4 attempts to complete Gaius and Hard Time Attack. I did Hard Time Attack before normal. I don't know why. I think the trophy guide suggested you do, so I did. So that was a real tricky one. After that is Phaedra, the horse. For some reason on Hard Time Attack, I instantly got on my horse and jumped on its legs. First go. I don't even know how I did that because then when I did it on normal Time Attack, I couldn't do it. It took me more attempts to jump on the horse than it did to beat Gaius. I don't even know how that happened. But that was pain. The time is against you. You have to really try and use the quickest methods to kill the Colossi. I've forgotten what 5 is, so I'll just go through ones that I can remember. The sandworm is an absolute pain, having to balance your horse and shoot the eyes and not run into a wall. Really, really difficult, really, really hard. I struggled with that one, but I did read online that as long as you have your bow out and your horse is still running, the horse won't slow down as long as your bow is out. So I realized I didn't have to keep tapping triangle for my horse to keep running, so there was less things to focus on when I figured that out. But it still made aiming at the sandworm's eyes no easier. Very, very difficult. And then eventually when I did get its eyes, it just crashed into me and then into a wall, so I died it's a super huge giant in a building, and it chases you, and then it crouches down, and then you jump on its beard. It's actually quite fun to do that one. It's not too difficult. He shakes a little bit, which is most of the issue you'll have in the game, is all the Colossus shaking. But if you angle yourself just so they shake a little less, they don't tend to do so as much. Like if you hang right before the top of the head, like right at the end of the head to the neck, you're normally good to go. So that one was really, really fun. There were ones that I felt that actually almost took your breath away. The flying ones definitely did that. The bird I found initially to be the most frustrating thing in the world because I didn't understand what to do. But then once you get it down, read a guide and practice it, it actually becomes one of the easier ones to do. So the bird one, when you're in the air, especially on your first playthrough, is quite terrifying because if you drop all the way to the ground, then you have to start all over again. The game really captures a sense of adventure and a sense of eeriness very well. I didn't know there was going to be elements of being unnerved in this game, but it definitely succeeded in feeling quite unnerving. It's funny too because with some of the Colossus, they're just fun. Like the bull. I found the bull to just be really fun. That basically tested if you were good at jumping and climbing. Loved that one. Really, really loved the puzzle on that one. And I really loved Barber with the beard. That one, again, really, really fun. But the ones that you feel unnerved by, the fish in the water, when its eyes go from blue to red, that to swim around to its back, and then sometimes it doesn't put its arms on the pillar, even if you hide behind the tiny pillar. It was so tricky, so tricky. Did I miss any? Did I miss any? I must have missed some. The flying one with the sacks on its belly, also frustrating, but mesmerizing. That's another one it just takes your breath away. You're in awe of it because you're in the sky, having to balance, make sure that you don't flip, and then running down this super long Colossus. Fantastic. Scattered throughout the lands too, as you make your way to each of the Colossus, is lizards and fruit and coins and some hidden places you can go. Very few, but this game is really, really good. This game incorporates QuickTime events. Now, in some cases, I think they use QuickTime events too much, but I do think that they use QuickTime events in other ways a pretty good way to tie two major events together. So that would be fighting with a brief cutscene, and I think that helps achieve immersion and anticipation in the gameplay. I'm not normally a fan of QuickTime events, but for this particular game, sometimes I got sick of it, but there are sometimes I thought that it was very much perfect to use QuickTime events. So this is Final Fantasy 16. This is a Square Enix game. And this is the most recent release from the Final Fantasy franchise. They've made lots and lots of games, a lot more than 16 of them. And you play as Clive. And Clive is on a journey of discovering who he is as a person and kind of what his purpose is and who he truly is. So, there's not actually a lot it says on the back, but I will read you what it says on the back. Fate is written in fire. Break your bonds, embrace Clive's iconic power, and summon your destiny. Dynamic action RPG combat, immense icon battles, dark fantasy world. So Final Fantasy 16 incorporates some former elements of previous games, such as featuring a lot of the classic icons or aeons. I prefer the word aeons personally. And I liked the design change on a lot of the aeons, but I didn't particularly like Shiva. But then again, I've not really liked any of Shiva's changes since 10. Not that I've seen every single one in the franchise, but I didn't really love the change in 14, and I didn't really love the change in 16. I really, really enjoyed this game, but I felt like it failed to tie together a lot of the elements. Side quests felt almost a little redundant and uninspired at times. A major character death was very much veiled by a very bizarre song choice. There was a lot of clumsiness with the ending, and the character relationship building was a little all over the place. But it had the foundation and the basics down. But with it being a new way of approaching a Final Fantasy game, I think it's a brilliant start. What it does really well is the fights. They're really fantastic. Gameplay is beautiful and brilliant. The soundtrack is one of the best I've heard in a video game. Everything about it is just really, really lovely and fun, but I did find the side quests to be a little bit meh. Other than that, it was just a really, really great game. I think it was my favorite game that came out this year, but Shadow of the Colossus might be my favorite game that I've played this year. It is definitely a step away from the rest of the franchise, especially with the QuickTime events, but I like it. It feels miles better than 15. It actually has a story I'll remember, and characters I'll remember. The side characters are built fantastically, and I want to learn more about fusing into them, blending one fight set into another. It has massive potential if you're skilled at that. I just did the basics, but I appreciate that the game doesn't punish you if you're not very good at that, but it very much rewards you if you are, so I love that. I did feel like the game did not encourage you enough to use some of the other icon powers. I don't remember his name now. Odin's powers I didn't feel like you were encouraged to use, or Bahamut's. So, there's that. I don't know. I just felt like it should push you to use that a little bit more. So there's that. Next game is Resident Evil 4. We'll do a little bit more sticky tapping now because I focused on whispering and not sticky tapping. The original Resident Evil 4 came out 2005-ish. I'm not sure. And it was a game that several of my family members played, so it's a game that I have very strong, vivid memories of growing up. I played it myself a little bit at the time that my family members did, and a little bit later on, but I have played the game through at least once, definitely several times to certain points in the game. So I was very much looking forward to the remake remaster of this one. As of making this video, Separate Ways DLC came out, I think, 2 days ago. I haven't played it yet, but I very much look forward to giving that one a go because I've seen some amazing things about it. Separate Ways, if you didn't know, is the additional content that comes with this game. In the original, you didn't have to buy it, it just came with the game and you could play it after you beat the main story. And it weaves a lot of the plot points together really well. Anyway, Resident Evil 4 is the 4th game in the Resident Evil series. One of many Resident Evil games in the series. And I would say it's one of the most popular. It changed the standard design and gameplay drastically from 1, 2, and 3. But I very much love this game. I love the original and I love the new one. I think it did a beautiful job of complementing the original but also keeping it fresh. So it says, survival is just the beginning. Leon S. Kennedy is tasked with rescuing the US president's kidnapped daughter. Will he be able to overcome the madness that awaits him? Experience the genre-defining classic like never before, with updated visuals, gameplay, and more. This is a Capcom game, and it's just absolutely brilliant. The little Easter eggs and strategies in the game are fun. The waterfall is just as big of a pain as ever. But what I really love is the fact that they just made new areas for you to explore, new puzzles for you to do, so that you could never truly predict everything that was going to happen in this game. It felt identical at the beginning, but then very quickly trailed off into its own game. I think that's when the new feelings of a new video game settled in, because you feel unsettled and curious about what is going to happen. So it turns out that a lot of the things that people missed in the new Resident Evil 4 are actually featured in separate ways, so I very much look forward to playing that. So, I don't know what else there is to say about this. It's an action game, and it's really fun. It was just really fun. The regenerators were really scary. The part where Ashley is getting the bridge up the enemies and then get back around and run past the regenerate to get back to her. It was quite intense, but it was very fun. Yeah, very much loved this game. I'm going to be playing it again. At some point, this has always been the type of game that I come back to casually because it's just a joy to play. So, love this game very, very much. We'll be coming back to play it again, and we'll be playing separate ways. I played very small parts of the Mercenaries, and I never really liked the Mercenaries. I feel like they're both equally good, the original and the new one, in their own way, and I like that you can use Krauser, but I just not my cup of tea. I think the original Resident Evil 4's Mercenaries is much scarier though, for sure. I like the new enemy elements in this one. Very fun. Very, very fun. Very much enjoyed it. What else is there to say on it? I think that's it. Alright, on to games that I want to play. Tales of Arise is a game that I believe I mentioned in February's video game collection video. And I talked about how much I love that game and how it's the best Tales game I've ever played, and it's a brilliant JRPG, and if you ever wanted to play a cheap game that's full of content and it's a perfect JRPG, play Tales of Arise. Well, it turns out 2 years later they're making DLC for the game, and it's quite hefty, and if I'm not mistaken it comes out in November. It's going to make some sticky sounds on the side. What a lovely surprise. So it looks like it starts where the game stops, so you will have to play Tales of Arise before you can play that content. But what a fantastic surprise. I was shocked when I saw the trailer come up with that. Very much looking forward to that. Looks like it has some interesting new characters, and I love games like that. I feel like the specific type of JRPGs I like they don't come out that often. So seeing anything related to that specific style of JRPG makes me very happy. So very much looking forward to that DLC. That was such a brilliant game. Love that game so much. You should play it. Just have fun. It's great. Fantastic game. What else? What else? Oh, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That looks brilliant. I played the new one, and this is part 2 of that. Looks fantastic. Looks really, really good. Really nothing else to say on that one. That's coming out in February, so that'd be great. There is a new, almost semi-Dragon Quest game coming out that feels like it's like Dragon Quest Heroes. I don't know how I feel about that. It feels like I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna play it or not. Dragon Quest 12 got announced years ago now, and we've not seen anything on a new Dragon Quest in a little while, so I'm very much looking forward and highly anticipating a new Dragon Quest because I love that series, the major series. These side games can be a little so-so. The Builders games are brilliant, but the Heroes games, they're okay. They're not bad, but they're just okay. And I feel like this new mini Dragon Quest game feels a lot like that. I think it's based off of a manga and an anime connected to Dragon Quest. I'm not really familiar with it at all, but I think I only saw that because I was looking at the Tokyo Game Show events that were going on, and it just popped up during that. So I feel like the marketing for at least I guess American audience Colossus.